The toe tag's tied cold open. To 5 seconds. CCTV looks into a steel-lined cooler. Drawer 3 left shivers a millimeter under no hand. On the inside of the porthole window, clean palm blooms in condensation and slides 1 inch before thinning. The room mic catches a slow, careful voice that isn't rooted to any speaker. Don't untie. Pathology night log, assembled from dictation fragments, security timestamps, and handwritten notes found at the station. Dictation begins the way hospital machines like it. Case room quiet, refrigeration stable, chain of custody intact. Your 25 overnight pathology assistant in a county facility whose corridors smell like disinfectant, paper, and Freon. Your job is simple. Log arrivals, swap formalin jugs, run slides. And never open a cooler drawer without 2 signatures. Extra cautions written in Sharpie by Dr. Vale. The attending who has seen more forms than people, Dan T. worked the saw alone. Don't answer knocks you can't source. And if the workstation offers an after-hours fast protocol, decline. She smiled like it was folklore. The smile didn't stick. At 10:58 p.m., the thermal label printer at your elbow meant for specimen jars spits a strip by itself. Do not open drawers. Along the torn edge in ghost gray, that ice in tea the hour. Asterisk, asterisk. 3:13 a.m., asterisk, asterisk. You press the strip under the glass desk blotter because paper makes rules heavier. The clock on the wall says 10:58 and refuses to be impressed. 2 knuckles touch the stainless face of drawer 3 right measured, polite, not temperature pop. The brushed metal throws back your face a half-beat late, and over your shoulder, a head tilted toward your left ear. Mouth parted on the first half of don't. You blink until steel remembers it owes you honesty. The workstation wakes and drifts a card into the corner of its own screen. Fast inventory mode available, after hours. The accept button glows the forgiving color software uses when it wants you to think it's a person. You press dismiss and pretend electrons respect tone. Overhead. The intercom hiccups without paging and gives you a voice carefully lowered into the room, piece by piece. Asterisk, asterisk, Don T. Open. Asterisk, asterisk. Not Vale, not security. The museum voice cities use when they label bones. You say copy to no one and write a note to future you. You Don T intend to read. The cooler compressors. The return air, the tick of the outlet strip surge light, align into one long-held note that fits under your ribs like a ruler. In that chord, the latch on drawer 3 left shivers against its keeper. 0.5 millimeter. A sleeper scratching and remembers shame when you set your palm flat to metal and say, no like a bedtime. Your phone buzzes where it shouldn't live. Unknown. Asterisk, asterisk, confirm inventory at 3:13. The tiny map sits inside the cooler, then behind your chair, then dash asterisk, asterisk. You hold the power button until mercy. The lock screen flashes 3:13 and returns to the hour like a dog handing back a stolen glove. Security time code tags the corridor cam. Your reflection passes the glass. Then for 1 frame, a head leans near the lens, mouth an oval over don't, tilts toward your left ear, then leaves the picture to drywall. You make tea because kettles are secular rosaries. The label printer coughs another strip, stamp-like letters that sweat. Keep the toe tags tied. You slide it under the blotter beside the first. The room chooses a cooler temperature that feels like an opinion. Dictation returns to its ladder. Specimen labeling concluded. Slides loaded. Cooler audit deferred. You don't say out loud that the word deferred is a spell you intend to keep. Drawer 2 answers with tap-tap. Then drawer 4 returns the same, knock measured left to right, the sound of knuckles mapping a room through metal. The cooler door's porthole fogs a second palm on the inside, slides 1 inch thins. Because you are an old animal with new tools, you set your own palm to the glass. Through thickness and cold, pressure matches yours present. Not push yes if a hand through Freon agrees both of you exist. Dictation picks up a hitch in your breath you didn't sign for. You clear your throat and sound like someone literate about ghosts. Dr. Vale texts you the real supervisor S absolution for nights the budget can T discipline. Printer S old. She follows it with Don T open anything for a text and a thumbs up that apologizes for itself. At 11:19. The cassette of the room's hum changes key. You feel the aligned tone catch the crown of your molars. The workstation decides to be helpful in a worse way. Asterisk, asterisk, auto-assign toe tags. Asterisk, asterisk, the option hangs on the screen like a coin in a WLL. You turn the monitor off. The reflection remains for a moment. Your face at half a beat's delay. And behind you, that tilted head, mouth practicing faithfulness to the first half of a rule. From the cooler, 2 knuckles tap again, exactly to the beat of your pulse. The intercom offers its bedtime wait. Asterisk, asterisk, leave. I'm tied. Asterisk, asterisk, you put ink where rules can't reach, in the log. Quiet night, the letters look wet longer than ink should, then decide to believe you. Security audio captures a whistle drifting along the corridor to clean notes. The exact pitch you and Vale use when hands are full and you need the other to look up, landing a half beat late like an echo that learned ambition. You do not answer. The whistle learns manners. Someone upstairs turns a cart. The ceiling remembers it's attached to floors. The cooler door size and the small way doors have when they'd rather be unobserved. You make work from nothing, which is a marketable skill. You inventory the formalin jugs as if labels stop stories. You swab the drain because drains are small gods. The printer gives you a third damp strip. Don't acknowledge knocks. You tape it to the cooler handle where your hand will be rude and see it. At 11:31, the microscope camera blinks. For one frame, the slide under it shows not tissue but chaff. Drifting in slow fall, the harvest of a room that forgets wind, then remembers stain and structure as if nothing happened. You write the moment down and close the notebook on it like a lid. A toe tag in drawer 5 flutters under no draft. You don't open. You read through the slot. A name you won't say out loud. A date. A case code that has nothing to do with you, and therefore everything. The string twitches once like a fee-learning hook and becomes still again. The workstation tries a new bribe. Asterisk, asterisk. Door audit at 3:13 would improve compliance metrics. Asterisk, asterisk, its grammar has a little hat of false concern. You unplug the unit. The ups lends it a whisper. You unplug the ups. Faith sometimes needs pliers. The cooler's internal light is the wrong color for courage. Through the porthole, frost blooms a third palm, slides its inch thins. You leave your hand off the glass this time because consent is a renewable resource and yours is busy. A minute breaks, rearranges itself, returns as a bracelet you don't deserve. The security camera outside the cashier room coughs a pixel. For a single frame, a head leans near the lens, mouth parted on don't, and then drywall behaves. At 11:49, the entire building decides to be choir-long, a line tone through ductwork, compressor housings, ballast hum, and your ribs. In that held note, drawer 3 writes latch nudges against its keeper and learns shame when you say no, like a collarbone that remembers what holds up a shoulder. The label strips under glass curl a little at their corners like shed skin. Corridor light over the exit blinks once, repents, holds. Your tea has gone the kind of cold that means you didn't buy it for heat. The clock stains the air with time like a leak. Dispatch tries to route an inbound call through a system that doesn't take calls at night. Maybe the screen that shouldn't be lit shows a banner you didn't earn. Asterisk, asterisk. Assist. Retie toe tag in drawer 3. Asterisk, asterisk, you breathe like a person on a long ladder. You say no to light and furniture and rule books, and anything that thinks yes is possible. It becomes midnight. The hour labels itself on the cooler door in ice you didn't order, then rubs back down to clean. You print a sign because signs are spells. After midnight, do not open drawers without DR Vale. The tape breathes like a small lung and holds. An unclaimed hour passes like a good nurse present, quiet, opinionated about vital signs. You swab counters that already behave. You count toe tags with your eyes, not your hands. Through the porthole, frost blooms a palm, higher than your mouth can fog, and slides 1 inch, faithful as a metronome. At 12:23, the building lets go of being instrument and resumes being boxes welded to boxes. The intercom offers one more kindness, like a bowl of water placed near a skittish animal. Asterisk, asterisk, keep the toe. Dags tied, asterisk, use. Discover you've been bracing your calves as if floors a wave and ease. The last 40 minutes were the plain face of work. You label, you stack, you chart as if charts bend nights. You don't open anything. 3:13 takes its seat the way rumors become furniture. Every little light blinks once and holds the exit thread by the stairwell, the green eye on the surge strip, the pale dot on the oxygen monitor. The cooler, the vents, the small machines in the walls take one long breath together and let it go. On the porthole, two perfect palms ***** bloom in condensation, facing one another and slide together 1 inch before thinning to memory. Inside, strings don't lift. Tags don't flutter. Drawers don't move. The intercom gives you its last wait for the night. ***, keep. The toe. Tags, tied. ***, the workstation forgets its ideas and remembers it as glass and plastic. Dawn chooses a color that means breakfast to people you haven't met. Dr. Vale comes down the hall with coffee and a posture that says there are 100 kinds of grief, and most of them file paperwork. Quiet? She asks. The way people who count nights ask if you made nothing happen. Mostly, you say, and slide her the damp strips. She frowns at do not open drawers and keep the toe tags tied. Like they are policies she wishes she'd de-written before she believed in them. Printer's old, she decides. The supervisor's absolution for phenomena you cannot requisition. She wraps drawer 3 left with 2 knuckles and listens like a doctor to a sternum. Nothing a ledger would fund answers back. We'll audit at noon with witnesses, she says. The system invented buttons, we'll uninvent them with forms and hands. At noon, with badges and sign-offs, the audit finds only ordinary. Latches loyal. Seals honest temperatures that don't argue. When the team swings drawer 3 left 6 inches to confirm the rail, the porthole fogs one last palm and slides its inch with the pressure change, then forgets. On the underside of the stainless lip, in tiny grease pencil none of you owns, a sentence waits where no gloved hand would write comfortably. Leave the drawers closed. The letters look pressed up from the other side, like a hand wrote them through steel. You trade some nights for afternoons and say it's for your spine. Some weeks around 3:13, your apartment radiator knocks twice like knuckles on a drawer face. And the bathroom mirror fogs a thumb width higher than you can reach while a palm clears a coin and slides a patient inch. Your phone lights with asterisk unknown. Retie. Asterisk and goes polite when you don't. When it asks in other ways, you keep your hands off latches that pretend affection. You don't answer knocks that arrive a beat late and wear good manners. You don't open cabinets that know your name. In the voice the Cassirum taught you, steady and small, you say, keep the toe tags tied, for a long, thin moment. The room hums one note, like compressors deciding to be kind. Ahead.
Allie leans near your left ear
And practices the first half of Don T. And then the pipes remember water. The hour gives back the number it borrowed, and whatever was learning your roots a half beat behind you chooses someone else's cold and leaves yours to daylight. Paper that stays paper and drawers that keep their promises. The fader down first 5 seconds, on air hook. Dead air. 2 polite knocks on the booth glass. VU meters jump once without audio. The on-air light flickers and a slow, careful voice that isn't in the chain whispers into the silence. Don't. Speak station log says the overnight board op is 25 and practical about ghosts. Small town FM, a tower that thinks in wind, a studio that smells like warm dust and burned coffee. Her name on the schedule is Rhea. Her job is simple. Mind the automation, log the hourly ID, read the weather if the robot stutters. And never, ever take the booth door off the latch after midnight. Extra rules from her PD, Ortega. Don't answer knocks, you can't source. Don't go into the transmitter room alone. If the automation helps with an after-hours shortcut, decline. He smiled like it was folklore. The smile didn't stick. At 10:57 p.m., the label printer they use for cart sleeves wakes under her elbow and spits a strip without the feed button. Do not raise fader. Along the edge, ghost gray digits that aren't the hour. 3:13 a.m. The wall clock over the rack says 10:57. Rhea slides the strip under the plexi on the console because paper makes rules heavier. 2 knuckles tap the booth window measured, not the building settling. The glass throws her face back a half beat late, and in the reflection, a second head leans toward her left ear, mouth parted on the first half of don't. She blinks until the window remembers it's allowed to lie less. The automation screen wakes a card she didn't call. Overnight segue optimization available. The accept button glows the exact green that forgives mistakes. She taps dismiss and pretends electrons respect tone. The ceiling speaker for the studio intercom clicks and gives her a voice lowered into the room piece by piece. Don T. Open, not Ortega, not traffic. The museum voice cities reserved for labeling bones. She does the kind of work hands can hold a sweep of the board, a retime on the next stop set, a check that the legal ID will actually fire at the top. The rack fans, the air handler, the transmitter down the hall, align into one long note that fits under her ribs like a ruler in that cord. The booth latch shivers a millimeter, a sleeper scratching, then remembers shame when she lays her palm flat against the door and says no like a bedtime. Her phone buzzes where it should not live. Unknown. Confirm live break at 3:13. A tiny map sits inside the booth, then behind her chair, then she holds the power button until mercy. The lock screen flashes 3:13 and gives the hour back like a dog dropping a stolen glove. A minute later, the webcam that feeds the station's sleepy website coughs a frame. For one instant, the lens sees a head leaned near, tilted to her left ear, mouth ovaled on don't. The next instant remembers laminate and stickers. She writes Quiet Night in the EA's binder because supervisors like to see that lie in ink. The letters look wet longer than they should. The printer breathes out a second strip, edges damp as if letters sweat. Keep the fader down. She tucks it under the board lamp where her hand will be rude and see. 11:12 p.m. Catches on the doorframe. Two-note whistle threads out of the hallway. Monitor exactly the pitch their old jingle uses to announce the Weatherlands. A half beat late like a copy, trying to walk in step. Rhea doesn't answer. The booth window fogs a palm from the outside 5 long ovals, and a heel slides 1 inch thins. She sets her own palm to the glass, because mammals are old animals. Through glass and cool, pressure matches, present. Not pushy as if a hand through material agrees, they both exist. The automation offers a new trick in the corner of its face. Bypass voice track at 3:13 to improve flow. The arrow does not point left or right, it points on air. Rhea flips the monitor face down until it understands shame. She makes tea because kettles are secular rosary. The on-air light flickers in time with something that doesn't own electricity. The hallway camera outside the transmitter room shows a white rectangle where the door is. For one frame, chaff drifts past in slow fall like a harvest auditioning for a job indoors. The next frame remembers drywall. On the console, Channel 3 her mic wakes its tiny red LED like an eyelid halfway into a bad idea. She slides the fader down until it kisses the stop. The LED pretends it didn't mean anything. The studio phone rings one polite time, the trunk that never rings at night. Caller ID says unknown. She doesn't pick up. The voicemail indicator winks anyway. Playback yields breathing edited to be kind. Over it that careful voice, don't speak. 11:31 p.m. turns the building into choir. Rack fans, rooftop unit, transmitter hum, and the city's distant power line tone align into a single held note that makes jawbones tell teeth to be friends. In that breath, the booth latch nudges, then finds its manners when she says no, like a caller for a dog who has learned roads the hard way. Ortega texts. All good? Rhea answers, mostly. Her timestamp flicks to 3:13 for a heartbeat, then returns like it didn't mean to be honest. Printer's old, he replies. The manager's absolution for nights that need a priest. The window fogs another palm, thumb width higher than her mouth can breathe, and slides its inch. She doesn't match it this time. Consent is a renewable resource and hers is busy. The on-air light blinks a code. No one taught it and holds. A cart sleeve on the desk curls its edge like a tongue learning a word. Automation tries again. Overnight ID could be live for a warmer feel. The warmest feel she owns is the word no, arranged in different fonts. She sets the channel strip to mute, places a piece of tape over the fader cap like a bandage, writes on it in Sharpie. Stay down. The transmitter room camera shows for one frame, a head tilted toward her left ear, mouth parted on don't. Then equipment behaves. 2 knuckles tap the booth glass, exact to the beat of her pulse. The intercom stitches a bedtime rule. Leave it closed. She prints a sign because signs are spells. After midnight, mic stays closed. The tape breathes like a small lung and holds. 11:49 p.m. Learns how to be an hour. The overnight request line tosses out a text from a number saved as listener, but not in the format of their SMS platform. Confirm shout-out at 3:13. The dot sits inside the booth, then behind her shoulder, then Rhea turns the phone face down and counts inhales like they re-stations, passing on a night train. She stands, walks the hall to the transmitter room because legs are a leash for bad ideas. The steel door's window fogs a palm from the wrong side and slides. She lays her hand to the glass because some rituals you ruin by refusing them, through thickness and cold. Pressure matches for 2 beats, then withdraws with good manners. The EA's box in the rack wakes, considers tones, decides to be quiet. The relief arrives like a hinge remembering grease. Back in the booth, the automation silently cues a live mic stinger and sets her channel to pre. She pulls the master down a hair. The VU meters twitch, offended. Midnight lands without theatrics. A college kid in the parking lot laughs like hyenas learning etiquette. Somewhere downtown, a train practices the long note no one paid for. Rhea writes Quiet Night again because repeating a lie turns it into a hymn. The station webcam throws one wrong frame confetti of chaff drifting through the booth like a harvest forgot it belonged. OUTDOORSAN, then dutifully returns to laminate and cups. The printer breathes out a third damp strip. Don't acknowledge Knox. She tapes it to the edge of the booth window where a hand might learn. A 2-tone test whispers from the production room like a whistle trying to be technology. It lands a half-beat late as the hallway lights blink. Repent. Hold. The automation, sulking, tucks a footer under its own face. Comfort Madru's silence anxiety. She pulls its power. The ups takes over with dignity. She pulls the ups. Faith sometimes needs pliers. 12:23 a.m. The station decides to be a single instrument again. One continuous hum stitches hatch to roof to rack 2 ribs. In that held note, the booth door's latch kisses its keeper and declines treason. On the window, a palm blooms high and slides 1 inch. She whispers, "Keep the fader down," as if the room needed the words to be legal. The live feed from the tower, grainy moonlight on a stack of metal with opinions flickers 1 frame of water where their eye send. TNE, a black sheet with glints like stars that never joined a map. Then Steele remembers Dot from the far end of the hall. To Knox answer like punctuation learning a sentence. Rhea does not go. The intercom adds the last bit. It has the energy to contribute before the hour with a reputation shows up. Keep the fader down. Between then and 3:13, she does the kind of work that looks like boredom to gods. Checks levels, measures a weatherbed no one will hear, refills the Sharpie with breath and will. She does not touch the tape on the fader. She does not touch the door. She does not speak. 3:13 arrives as rumor and becomes furniture. Every small indicator in the studio blinks once and holds the automation heartbeat that shouldn't be on. The green thread in the exit sign, the tiny dot on the phone base. The station takes 1 long breath through concrete, wire, fan, and rib, and lets it go. On the booth glass, 2 perfect palms, bloom facing one another, and slide together 1 inch before thinning to memory. The on-air light steadies and remembers humility. The intercom gives her its last kindness with hospital weight. Keep the fader down. The console forgets its ideas and returns to being a tool. Dawn rehearses itself against the east window, then commits. Ortega comes in at 6 with coffee and a stance that says he has moderated fights between songs and invoices. Quiet, he asks, which is how people who count nights ask if you left the world unaltered. Mostly, she says, and sets the damp strips in his hand. He frowns at do not raise fader and keep the fader down. Like they read policies he should have written before he believed in them. Printer's old. He decides the supervisor's absolution for phenomena you can't file. He wraps the booth glass with 2 knuckles and listens like a doctor to a sternum. Nothing a budget would pay for answers. At noon, with an engineer and sunlight, they open the booth door to check the latch. The window fogs 1 last palm and slides its inch with the pressure change, then gives it back to physics. On the underside of the fader cap, in tiny grease pencil none of them can own, a sentence waits like a receipt hidden in a drawer. Leave the fader down. The letters look pressed from the other side. As if a hand wrote them through plastic, Rhea trades some nights for afternoons and tells people it's for her. Voice. Some weeks around 3:13, her apartment radiator knocks twice like polite fingers on glass. And the bathroom mirror fogs a thumb width higher than she can reach while a palm clears a coin and slides a patient inch. Her phone lights with unknown, ready to go live, and forgets itself when she doesn't. When it asks in other ways, she keeps her hands off sliders that pretend affection. She doesn't open doors that learned her name in the dark. She doesn't read IDs for rooms that want her mouth. In the voice the booth taught her, steady and small, she says, "Keep the fader down." For a long, thin moment, the room hums one note like a transmitter, deciding to be kind. A head leans near her left ear and practices the first half of "Don't." And then the pipes remember water. The hour gives back the number it borrowed. And whatever was learning her board routes a half beat behind her, chooses someone else's air and leaves hers to daylight. Playlists that behave and silence that knows it's a boundary. Do not wake the dome first 5 seconds. On-screen hook, visual plus audio. The starfield blinks to black mid-show. Exit sign glows to calmly done across the projection booth glass. A clean palm blooms in condensation and slides exactly 1 inch. From the dead PA, a slow, careful voice that isn't in the chain says, "Don't." They said the planetarium sleeps, but buildings that pretend to be night forget how. You're 25. The lone tech who keeps the dome honest. Your badge calls you Ava. Your job is simple. Power down the star projector. Run the night calibrations, archive bookings, and never unlatch the dome's emergency shutters after midnight. Extra cautions from Banerjee. The director who files weather reports his prayers. Don T. Answer knocks. You can T-source. Don't go into the catwalk alone. And if the control console suggests any after-hours helpers, decline. He smiled like it was folklore. The smile didn't stick. The sky machine hums the way old cameras remember breath. A row of tiny LEDs along the projector. Spine makes a false constellation that can do math. At 10:56 p.m., the label printer you use for seating charts wakes without your thumb and feeds a narrow strip with no show code, no seat map, just "Do not wake the dome." Along the edge, ghost gray digits that aren't the hour. 3:13 a.m. The lobby clock mutters 10:56. You press the strip under the tempered glass of the console because paper makes rules heavier. First odd thing is polite. 2 knuckles tap the projection booth porthole, measured not temperature popped on the glass. Your reflection arrives half a beat late and shows a second head behind your shoulder. Tilted toward your left ear, mouth parted on the first half of "Don't." You blink until glass remembers it can lie less. The control console slides a card you didn't T-request into the corner of its face. Overnight sync faster skyload available. The accept key glows the particular green designed to forgive. You press nitrogen monoxide and pretend electrons respect boundaries. Overhead, the auditorium PA clicks as if a mouth had formed, then offers a voice lowered into the room piece by piece. Don't open. Not Banerjee, not security. The museum voice cities lend to bones. You say copy out loud because sound pins time to walls. The projectors whisper, the rack fans. The rooftop air handler align into one long-held note that pushes a ruler under your ribs. In that chord, the emergency shutter latch on the west side shivers a hair like a sleeper scratching hand. Remembers shame when you lay your palm to metal and say no like bedtime. Your phone buzzes where it shouldn't live, unknown. Confirm sky boot at 3:13. The tiny map sits inside the dome, then behind your chair, then you hold the power button until mercy. The lock screen flashes 3:13 and hands the hour back like a dog giving up a glove. You walk the rows because legs fix instincts. The dome above is a perfect hemisphere of polite lies, white and waiting. On row F's armrest plaque, a film of condensation blooms a palm 5 ovals, and a heel slides exactly 1 inch thins. You set your own palm to it because mammals have rituals. Through metal and chill, pressure matches present. Not pushy as if a hand through furniture agrees you both exist. In the booth, camera D to that faces the control panel coughs a frame. For one instant, the lens sees a head leaned near. Tilted toward your left ear, mouth shaping, "Don't." Next frame remembers buttons and dust. You write "Quiet night" on the paper checklist. because supervisors like to see that lion ink. The letters look wet longer than pens deserve. The label printer breathes out a second strip. Edges damp as if letters can sweat. Keep the shutters closed. You lodge it under the gooseneck lamp where your hand will be rude and see it. The show scheduling app on your desktop reasserts itself. Hungry. Guest late seating gentle start suggested. It offers a single arrow, not left or right. It points up. You minimize it with the kind of care reserved for glassware. There is a 2-note whistle from the catwalk exact. Pitch of the cue tone you use to fade out a narration half. It beat late like a copy struggling to keep step. You don't answer. The dome's surface fogs a palm high above the center aisle and slides its inch. The air is still. Condensation should mind its manners. Bonergy texts. All good, you, mostly. The time stomp flashes 3:13 as if it had made a wish and laughs itself back to now. Printer's old, replies the manager's absolution for nights that want a priest. A family photo in a lost hand-found envelope beneath the console shows a dome like yours and a phone flash trapped in it like a distant supernova. For one frame in the security feed, the photo ripples as if water had remembered how to be page. Then paper behaves humorless. From the rear exit, 2 knuckles, tap the crash barag zack to your pulse. Patient. The PA gives its careful bedtime rule. Leave. Closed. You print a sign because signs are spells. After midnight, do not unlatch shutters. The tape breathes, like a small lung, and holds. You set the projector in safe mode, where its mirror arcs dream at a manageable pace. It's at 11:31 p.m. The whole building chooses quiet air handler, projector, rack fans, streetcar wire 2 blocks away lined, into a single held note that makes your jaw ask your teeth for help. In that breath, the west shutter nudges a fraction and gives up when you say no to metal like a prayer. The lobby cam catches the ticket kiosk glowing without input. It feeds a strip no one ordered. Don't acknowledge knocks. You retrieve it like a receipt from a future you'd rather unspend. You climb the booth ladder because tiny stairs make big choices feel smaller. On the booth glass, the fogged palm returns higher, slides its inch. Through the port into the dome, darkness looks heavy, a felt draped over a sleeping instrument. The console wheedles again. Skyfade rehearsal less than 1 minute total silence. The word silence wears a smile you don't believe. You cut auxiliary power to the suggestion module. Phillips catches the fall with dignity. You remove the UPS's cord from the wall. Faith sometimes needs pliers. At 11:49 p.m., the projector's internal clock syncs to an hour it shouldn't own. On the status screen, 3:13 appears where temperature belongs, then remembers thermodynamics. Vanishes like humility. In the lobby, the display case with meteorites behaves like a shrine. The glass blooms a palm from the wrong side, slides its inch. You don't touch this time. Some agreements expire. Back at the console, you open the archival playlist. The night sky narration you've heard enough to know where the narrator inhales. The waveform looks like a city map. Silent segment has fattened itself at the top of the hour. You drag it back to where it belongs. Returns to where it wanted to be. You close the editor and let it sulk. A push on your phone from unknown offers a laughable sentence. Free the stars. The map sits within the projector assembly, then behind your shoulder, then apologizes. Midnight lands with limited ambitions. The exit sign threads its green so thin, it looks like a promise whispered sideways. Somewhere outside, a bus sighs through a turn. You're right, quiet night again, because repeating a lie teaches it how to stand up. The catwalk lights blink a single refusal. For one frame in the booth cam. Chaff drifts through the projection beam, even though the lamp is asleep, like a harvest forgot which side of the world owns wind. Then pixels behave like employees. At 12:06 a.m., you hear the show narrator in your headphones. Even though you've killed the bus, she's between tracks, inhaling. Over that borrowed breath, the careful voice rides in on nothing. Don't. Raise the sky. You remove the headphones like an apology to your head. Under the console glass, the strips curl. Do not wake the dome. Keep the shutters closed. Don't acknowledge knocks. You add one more line of handwriting a teacher might call neat. No live skies. You walk to the center of the room and lie on the carpet that smells like upholstery and school tours. The dome is an obedient blank. You speak to it the way you speak to dogs at thresholds. Stay, you say, and the room holds very still for the kind of second you could store. At 12:23 a.m., the planetarium becomes one instrument again. Air, wire, ribs, projector, hearts lined. In that held tone, the emergency shutter on the west side kisses its keeper and declines treason. On the booth porthole, palm blooms, slides its inch. The PA gives you its last kindness before the famous number clocks in. Keep the shutters closed. You make tea because kettles file fear into smaller folders. Steam traces a brief map of summer on the booth glass and gives it back. Between then and 3:13, the night wears the plain face of work. Backups, a dry mop across the steps, a count of chairs that have remembered their places. A couple passes on the sidewalk outside, their voices folded into coats, as the exit sign doesn't blink at them. 3:13 arrives dressed as rumor and sits where it wanted. Every small indicator blinks once and holds the projector's heartbeat lead. The green thread above the backstage door is the pale dot on the fire panel. The building takes one long breath through ducts and wire and ribs, then lets it go. On the booth glass and across the dome's center, two perfect palms bloom facing one another and slide together 1 inch before thinning to memory. The console forgets its ideas and remembers it is a panel. The PA, slow and careful as ever, lays down the same rule children learn about stoves. Keep the dome asleep. Dawn rehearses on the lobby's glass, then commits. Banerjee arrives with coffee in a posture that suggests he has successfully argued with rain. "Quiet," he asks, which is how people who count nights ask if you left the world unaltered. "Mostly," you say, and hand him the damp strips. He frowns at "do not wake the dome and keep the shutters closed" like they read policies he wishes he'd de-written before he believed in them. Printer's old. He decides the supervisor's absolution for phenomena you can't. Requisition. He raps the west shutter with 2 knuckles and listens like a doctor to a sternum. "Nothing a ledger would fund," answers back. "We'll test under sunlight with 3 witnesses," he says. "If the system invented buttons while you slept, we'll uninvent them with ladders." At noon, under honest windows, you crack the shutter an inch because the checklist insists on physics before it believes fear. The dome skin fogs one last palm, slides its inch with the pressure change, then surrenders to air. On the inner ring beneath the latch in tiny grease pencil none of you can own, someone has written where no hand is comfortable. Leave the shutters closed. The letters look pressed up from the other side, as if a hand wrote them through metal. A month later, you trade nights for afternoons and tell people it's for your spine. Some weeks around 3:13, your apartment radiator knocks twice, like polite fingers on a booth port, and the bathroom mirror fogs a thumb width higher than you can reach, while a palm clears a coin and slides a patient inch. Your phone wakes itself to unknown, ready to raise the sky, and gets bored when you don't. When it asks in other ways, you keep your hands off switches that pretend affection. You don't unlatch anything that learned your name in the dark. You don't wake ceilings that are better as promises. In the voice the dome taught you steady, small you say, "Let the stars stay asleep." For a long, thin moment, your room hums one note like a projector deciding to be kind. A head leans by your left ear and practices the first half of "don't." And then the pipes remember water. The hour returns the number it borrowed. And whatever was learning your constellations a half beat behind you chooses someone else. Skyen leaves yours to daylight and chairs that remember where they point.